These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
But anyways, we can move on. We can talk about, and I'm not going to take any slack for it either because you brought it up. I forget where it originated. Do you know where the Anthony Davis, Robert Williams thing originated, Sam?
I don't know what the source was. I saw it on NBA Central on Twitter, and I think they said an anonymous executive said, I don't remember which side he was advocating to do the deal. I think it was the Lakers.
Oh, it was Collin Cowherd. It was an analyst.
Oh, all right. Well, regardless.
It's
out
we can talk
there.
about it. He said, what did he say exactly? I want to find the
He
quote.
said the Lakers should sell high because how many more games is he gonna play? Like he's not gonna play in every game for the rest of the season. They should sell high on Anthony Davis.
He effectively argued his argument. Now that I'm looking at it, was so foolish too.
No, it's dumb. It is dumb.
He said they're going to have a Giannis issue, so they should trade for AD to guard him.
No, they're not. Well, they might, but everyone's gonna have a Giannis issue.
Yeah,
but that's not a unique thing to the Celtics.
I would argue
Anthony Davis isn't guarding Giannis. He doesn't want to play against the big boys. He doesn't want to play center. Not that Giannis is a center.
They probably have the second best matchup for Giannis in terms of a straight one-on-one. Bam Adebayo, maybe. I think Miami. He could probably be up there. And you could potentially argue Ben Simmons, but he's been better. In terms of pure defender, I'm saying Ben Simmons you can't knock him as a defender. But I mean, Al Horford, Grant Williams, they can handle him, and they did last year. And I guess PJ Tucker, but Jason Tatum there too. I think the Celtics are fine, but effectively, Collin Cowherd suggested the Celtics trade Robert Williams for Anthony Davis. Right. The Lakers get Rob, more financial freedom. The Celtics get Anthony Davis. Obviously, it wouldn't work for a one-for-one deal. Exactly. You'd have to throw something else in there. It's pretty foolish regardless. I don't think any Celtics fan would do it. I mean, well, if the money wasn't a thing, would you trade Rob straight up for Anthony Davis?
Probably not. Just because, one, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, meaning by that, one, the Celtics are nasty without either one of them. Two, they've proven to be good in the past with Rob Williams, and he has a defined role on the team. If you bring in Anthony Davis, he's probably going to want to do similar things to Horford. And whether he's as good, it's not looking like it, especially shooting threes. He's not as good at it. So what's the point of having him, in my opinion? And if he's going to be hurt, this is all without having to pay him. To me, which is the biggest issue. The whole great thing about Rob is he only makes $12 million. So if he's injured, it sucks. I'd love if Rob was playing right now and he's fully healthy, but you're not eating up $30 million on that. You're eating up 12.
Yeah. No. I agree with you completely. And it's tough because I feel like this argument is similar to the would you trade Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant? In a sense, obviously, I think the gap between Jaylen and KD is smaller than the gap between Rob and AD. But at the same time, you haven't really seen the best of Rob, I don't think, at least. And if you have you're still getting an all defensive second team center. You're still getting a defensive player of the year candidate. And who knows, if Rob played the full season, he might have won defensive player of the year. That's not a knock on Marcus, just that they had two defensive player of the year caliber players on the team. That's how good Rob was. And that's how good Rob can be.
The only argument you can really make for Anthony Davis is, okay, and this doesn't make sense with trading Rob, but he could be the Horford successor. That's the only thing, because we've talked about that a fair amount, and it's been on Twitter. Who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to be the next Horford? People want it to be Grant. Grant's not big enough. It's just clear he's not big enough. He's Grant. He's not Horford. And Grant is good, but he's not Horford. He's not the same player. Anthony Davis is one of those guys that could make sense in that role. He can kind of shoot. He can kind of defend. He do phenomenal all those things, defender, and he's in his prime. Right, if he decides to want to defend the big guys and is
playing
able to
really
stay
well
healthy.
this year, he's brought it around.
And good for him. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You don't need that. You don't need to throw another ego in the mix. You don't need to throw in the injury risk of someone that would be playing a big role for you. I mean, why?
And like you said, I mean, coming back to realism, coming out of our, if you could do it just with this without considering this, money. Right? That's the clear thing that's going to deter you from doing it. Not only from the perspective of having to pay Anthony Davis, because you're going to have to pay Anthony Davis continuously. You're going to have 3 max contract players on the roster. And no matter how good Rob gets, I don't think he's ever going to become a max player, which is benefits the Celtics. But also,
I don't know,
like
Gobert's
we said,
making max money.
Sure. Yeah, you're not wrong. We'll see, because Rob will probably get 25 a year down the line, which will not be max anymore, but it sounds like it. But the point is, like we said when we started the conversation, no matter what, you're going to have to, even if you want to do this trade, you'd have to give up something else. You'd have to give up Rob and Derek White, or Rob and Malcolm Brogdon, or Rob and Al Horford, or Rob and Marcus Smart, right? Like, it's not going to be a Rob for Anthony Davis trade. And obviously, we understand how foolish this entire conversation is, because it's never going to happen. And
well, also, the point of it was from the Lakers. I don't think he was saying
exactly.
The Celtics should do it.
Yes. And if you're the Lakers, I still think it's stupid. I still think it's terrible, because as much as we're arguing the Celtics shouldn't do it, Anthony Davis is still an all-star. He's still an all-NBA player. And obviously he's had his health issues, but over the past 10 days, he's averaging 30 and 12, right? Like, he's
also literally the only thing they have.
Sure. But they're also winning, right? And this isn't going to turn into good for the Lakers, but you can't turn to blind eye when Anthony Davis is probably playing his best basketball since the bubble.
I mean, they lost
yesterday. Sure. But Anthony Davis is playing really well, and trading him for Robert Williams, and then especially to the point where you're going to say, okay, Rob, you're going to be our second leading scorer now. That's just not what Rob does. And eventually down the line for the Celtics, maybe he can get up there to 15 points a game, right? You throw him enough lobs, have him, Tatum,
he's not creating.
Grant, and exactly. He's not creating for himself. And obviously having LeBron and Russell Westbrook on the team, you're going to have opportunities to catch lobs, but the whole conversation, I just think, is a bit stupid. And it's good to talk about for a podcast, which is why we're talking about it. But I don't think the Celtics should do it, nor do I think the Lakers would do it. I think it's a dead end trade. I mean, if you're the Lakers and you say, okay, if the Celtics say yes to giving us Rob, a pick, and Derek White, then maybe you talk, because that gives you some depth. It gives you some flexibility in tradable contracts. But you're giving up Anthony Davis, and he's been arguably your best player so far this year. So I don't know. It's just okay, Collin. Collin got us, and he gave us content too. Exactly. He's good at it.
Tic-tac-toe.